4%. Now there's something wrong with a country that's supposed to be in the future business that would send a young person out to make his or her way in the world with an interest rate more than twice what their parents' home mortgage rate is. So the first thing Hillary wants to do is let everybody refinance. The average savings would be more than $2,000. But a lot of these young people owe more than the average, which is about $30,000. A lot of them owe 100 or more if they went to medical school or architecture school or law school. She thinks everybody should have the right to turn their college loan into something that looks like a home mortgage. That is a fixed rate every month and never more, never, no matter how much you borrow, never more than 10% of your after-tax income. Which means that all these young people could get credit ratings. And if you teach school or do some other public service, if you haven't paid it off in 10 years, the rest is forgiven. And if you get a small business loan to start a business, your obligation to repay your college loan is suspended for 3 full years while you get the business up and going. Now you just think about that. This could change the future for America. The other thing I want to talk about is access to credit. The good news about that Dodd-Frank law President Obama signed is Wall Street can't break Main Street anymore. The bad news is it's frozen up a lot of small business lending, even though it wasn't supposed to. That is, the law says community banks aren't covered, but the regulators are treating it like it is. So if you're, let's say, 28 years old and you go in and you want to borrow $50,000 to open a bakery or something, if you don't have collateral in the form of real estate, very often you can't get a loan. Most people that age don't have real estate. So what Hillary wants to do is to go back and enforce the community reinvestment law, which is on the books. We made $800 billion of loans when I was president. That's 1990 money. $800 billion worth of loans by enforcing this law that says every bank that's got an ATM machine in a community has to consider people in that community for loans. And she wants to do it by changing the regulation, not by letting the big bankers go back to speculating, but by growing the economy from the bottom up and the middle out by making small business loans again. Now, if you don't work for one, let me tell you how important that is. For the last 20 years, 2/3 of our new jobs have come from small businesses. 80% of those jobs have come in the first 5 years of the business's life. 80%. Now we need to do more of that. She's the only person you can vote for that wants to do that. Her opponent just wants to repeal the other law, which will let the banks go back and start gambling with our future and run the risk of another meltdown. That's a big difference, and why we're stronger together if we vote for Hillary. Let's talk about health care. All the headlines are full of the stories that average premiums are going up 22%. But the sub-headline is, if you're in the health care program, your subsidies will go up too, so the increases won't be as much. So you got one proposal, her opponent, just repeal it and go back to the way it used to be. That's a terrible idea. More than 20 million people would lose their health insurance. Families that can now insure their kids up to age 26 wouldn't be able to do it anymore. And 100% of Americans would be worse off because you today cannot deny someone coverage based on a pre-existing condition. We do not want to get rid of that. So what would a country that was interested in being stronger together to do? You'd keep what's good about the law and attack the problems. She's the only person you can vote for that wants to do that. He just said, I'm going to repeal this law, trust me on the rest. Look, what are the problems with the law? We can all tick them off, right? The co-pays, deductibles, and premiums are too high, and the drug prices are too high. So what does she say we should do? We should bargain for lower drug prices the way the government can now with Medicare and Medicaid for everybody. We should realize that the most vulnerable populations are people who make just a little too much money to qualify for the subsidies, but they don't work for big companies with a lot of market power, and small businesses that make just a little too much money to qualify for the subsidies, and they don't have any bargaining power. So what she wants to do is let people 55 and over have the option to buy into Medicare at an affordable rate, and let everybody else have access to a public option which will guarantee competition at an affordable price. 20% of Americans today only have one choice, and that's not good. Now, if you did that, the rest of the difference in what we pay and everybody else is up to us. We've got to get hospital infections down. We've got to get readmissions down. We've got to improve the health care of our people, which I've worked on hard for the last several years in 18,000 schools with, 30,000 schools with 18 million students. We can do this. We can lower the cost of our health care by making ourselves healthier and improving the delivery system. And that's going on. But the worst problems are for people that are just a little above the subsidy line, and we can fix that. So Hillary says, fix the problem, don't repeal the solution.
That's right.
Now, all this means we're stronger together. Look at where we are with big business and creating jobs. You've had some good experience with this in Eastern North Carolina because Nucor Steel pays weekly bonuses, right? You've got a plant not too far from here. Here's what I know. The biggest problem today hurting the American economy from the point of view of bigness is big corporations being run by rich activist shareholders for their own benefit, paying the CEOs based on whether the rich and shareholders are happy, and they want all their money in a year and a day so they can get the lower capital gains tax rate. So what does their opponents say? Just cut their taxes and see what happens. Hillary says, we tried that, it didn't work out too well. So she says, I want to raise taxes on people that shut down profitable plants in America and move them overseas. Make them give back every last red cent they ever got from the government, and put a tariff on the goods when they seek to bring them back. That's Carrier air conditioning in Indiana. Did you read about it? They threw 2,100 people under the bus to move to Mexico, but what the fine print shows that those 2,100 people were making furnaces, and their division made $2.9 billion in profit, and the profit margins were going up. Why did they do that? The union says, you're going to save $65 million a year by moving to Mexico. We'll save it for you. Will we do the work savings? They did it anyway. Wouldn't even talk to them. Why? Because they're being run for the benefit of a handful of people that want their money back in a year and a day. So what does Hillary say? Don't give them their money back in a year and a day. Lower the tax rate a lot on people that invest in companies for 5 years or more. A lot. So we can have time to grow together. And she says, I'll tell you who I want to lower taxes on. I want to lower taxes on companies that share their profits with their employees. I want to lower taxes on companies that train their employees and make sure they can keep adding value to the American economy. And I want to lower taxes on companies that will invest in places like Eastern North Carolina that hadn't had any new investment in too long. In other words, help us grow together. You can pay less taxes because you'll be growing and so will we. So we can all rise together. You got a clear choice here, and it will affect your life. One of the most underrated people serving in the federal government today, I think, is the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack. He was governor of Iowa, a rural state, which, let me just support your governor's candidate's statement on clean energy. Iowa has the lowest electric rates in America because it has the highest rate of generation of electricity from the wind. And the farmers with the windmills on their land are making money. Everybody's making money, and the people are paying less. But Vilsack was governor there. So he got permission to combine a bunch of these agriculture department programs and put the money together and invest it in rural America. And the agriculture department has created 250,000 jobs in places just like this. Hillary says we ought to be spending billions and billions and billions of dollars to invest in small towns and rural areas that have been left behind. The money is there, we're just not spending it right. Invest it to put people to work.